I'm Andrea and I'm going to talk about female leadership. I'm going to cover the part about myself very short. Now, my own reasons for going into IT were very, very simple. I wanted money, I wanted a career, and I wanted to be able to change things. Before that, I had done a degree in cultural studies and psychology, and I had trained and worked as a massage therapist. Both didn't give me the career perspectives that I wanted, and I was really frustrated. As I phrased it at the time, I wanted to join the game. Or to be more precise, I badly longed to join the game. So I thought I'd finally give in to the requirements of the labor market and get another degree in business computing, like most of the people here, which to my own surprise, I really enjoyed. Then I did join the game, and for the last 4 years, I've been working in the IT industry. While most of the time I really enjoy working there, and I actually feel that I take advantage of all the benefits it offers, namely the huge amounts of possibilities you get and the ability to learn something new basically every day. There are moments when I realize I just don't like this game. I don't like the game when I feel alien. This happens in kind of trivial everyday situations like going for lunch with colleagues when the conversation is all about the very task we just left on our desks in order to go for lunch. When I want to change the topic, I can, of course, and most of the times I succeed. But I actively have to change the default. I also don't like the game when technology is considered a religion. When the tech stack we're using, the tools we're actually working with, seems to be way more important than the product we're actually building. Sometimes working in IT feels like this XKCD comic, where this little figure builds tools, that deploy code, that builds tools, and so on, and doesn't really have a clue what it's all about. And that's only the small-scale side of it. There's also a large-scale side. In Silicon Valley, they're trying to solve climate change with technological means. Now what's that, if not some kind of religious technology will save the world narrative? I also don't like the game when the game is not fair. Oh, sorry. When the game is not fair. The most obvious example for that is salaries. So you're probably all familiar with the fact that people don't get paid necessarily according to their skills in their jobs, like Ella said, but according to their skills in salary negotiations. So you end up with these weird situations where two people with the exact same amount of work experience doing the exact same job get paid different amounts of money, just because one asked for more than the other one, or because they joined the company at different times, or one might even sometimes suspect because they have a different gender. And of course, they're not allowed to talk about it by contract. Now, of course, you can learn salary negotiations, just like you can learn anything else. It's actually Handwerk, not Hexenwerk as well. And I even have to admit that once you get the hang of it, a salary negotiation can turn into a game of itself, and it can even be fun. But why on earth do we have to do that when there's way better concepts out there, like commonly negotiating our salaries, or at least making them publicly accessible? They do that in Sweden, and as far as I know, the economy hasn't collapsed. To cut a long story short, I want a different game. I want a game that's inclusive, respectful, and fair to everyone, a game that creates products that actually solve real problems and benefit real humans, not personae. Now, as a woman and a feminist, I went for the obvious conclusion first. Is female leadership the answer? If we had more women in power, would we be able to play a different game? Now, this idea is nothing new. One of the most famous women who actually had this idea a long time before I did is, do you know Sheryl Sandberg, the chief operating officer of Facebook? Well, think of her. She got quite famous with the claim that the world would be a better place if half our companies and half our countries were run by women and half our homes by men. In order to achieve this, she calls on women to lean in, which is also the title of her book, and to really strive for participation in the workforce and ultimately for leadership. While I think Sheryl Sandberg has some brilliant ideas that are totally worth listening to or reading, I disagree on at least this one point. I don't think that the world will necessarily be a better place if we had more female CEOs and more female chancellors and presidents. If we do it like the guys, we get the same results as the guys, right? Or in other words, we might play the game differently, but it would still be the same game. What we need is this. It has been here for a few seconds. We need a new paradigm of leadership if we truly want to change the game. So now don't get me wrong on this. I'm all in favor of putting more women into leadership positions, if need be even with the help of a tool like a women's quota, because that's what we need at this moment in time. But to me, that's only half the solution. The other half is we need a new paradigm of leadership. A paradigm that relates to both men and women, but a paradigm, and that is the important part, that features attributes that are commonly stereotyped as female or feminine, and I'm not going to argue if they really are. Attributes such as emotional or empathetic, which we tend to look down on because they're stereotyped as female, and we live in a patriarchal society where female is not the default. So I think the key is to value these attributes and to see them as the leadership qualities that they really are, as qualities that have the power to change the game. I brought some examples. Take this stereotype. Women value relationships higher than hierarchies. You've heard this before, right? Well, what if it's really all about relationships, even at work? Now, consider this. You have a relationship not only with your employees and your colleagues, but also with your customers, with your company, with your product, even with money, and ultimately with yourself. Then your customers or employees have a relationship with your product and your company, and your customers have relationships with your product and your company, and so on. So you get this intricate network of relationships. Maybe it's the quality of this network, along with your ability to both take care and take advantage of the network, that really defines your success in business. And here's the next one. Women can't promote themselves. We've heard this, right? Well, apart from the fact that it's not true, I think every woman up here on this stage and in this room is perfectly capable of promoting herself. It is true that we need this quality in order to achieve leadership positions, but I think for a leader, there's a quality that's way more important than promoting, presenting, or selling, and that is listening. A leader must know how to listen. I think if she listened to the person working on her customer care hotline, she might get the best insights into the flaws of her products. And that's just one example. Now here's one last stereotype. Women take care of the collective well-being. You've heard that one before too, right? Well, yes, and that's a good thing, and we should care and take care a lot more. Actually, I think that the most important quality for a leader is her ability to serve. Not only her customers and her stakeholders, but also her employees and ultimately the common good. Frankly, I think that seeing a leader as someone who serves has the potential to be the biggest game changer in this crazy game that is our capitalist economy. Oh, yeah. And while we're at it, we could take the experiment even one step further. If we all develop these qualities, do we then even need leaders, or could we all be leaders? And maybe leadership in itself is the wrong word because it's misleading, because it produces images in our heads such as this one. Maybe we could come up with a new word, and while we're at it, maybe we can find some better images. I don't have answers to these questions, maybe you do at some point. But there's some things I know for sure. We need more utopias about leadership and about work and life. We need new images, new words, and new thoughts. And we do need these female or feminine attributes in there so that we can create a different game, a game that's inclusive, respectful, and future-proof. Thank you.